Hi, everybody. So I want to introduce to you today Abby Wynne, and I have her book, and we're going to talk about energy and how to kind of protect yourself nowadays. And also, we're just going to talk about energy in general and how it's affecting us. And we're just going to keep going with that. But this is her book.
Woohoo!
Yes. And I'll be honest, I don't read anything that I buy lately. I'm just like, okay, can I absorb it now? Like, can it come in so I don't have to open and take time, because I'm feeling kind of frantic myself as far as getting stuff done. But I am really excited to read it.
Well, I've actually made it into an online program. I've got part 1 up on my website. So it's like to guide people through the work. And
That's
I'm currently
fun.
recording the whole thing as an audiobook as well. I have a part 2, but honestly, not enough people have gone through the first part to justify putting up the second part just yet. But
I
mean, we really need to honor our energetic selves, the energetic part of us.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just too much out there, which is just about the mind. And, I think so many of us are so sensitive to energy, and we don't take that into consideration. It's where we're going to, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is where we're going to. And I took a walk this morning. I take a little walk every day because we're in a hilly, mountainous area. So I go up a mountain. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my exercise, and I try and not look at the phone during this time. Like, okay, I'm going to leave the phone alone.
Is this the only 10 minutes of the day that you don't look at your phone, honey?
I seriously probably only get about 30 minutes a day of freedom from the phone. And that's because I have so many little things that I'm doing on there. My husband is like, you are crazy. What is going on with you? But, and all this stuff came in when I did that. And I'm going to try and take more time away from the phone. And I suggest all of you guys do this too.
Can I give you an exercise to help pull you out of your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, but first I need to turn off my heater. This always happens when I get warm up. We're warming up now, then it's too warm in my room.
Okay.
But yeah, the way I see energy is of our own personal energy. It's like little sparkles can get left behind, as pieces of us can get sucked into stuff. So here's a great excuse for me to hold my phone. Oh, I missed you so much. But like, you just see this, your phone is a portal into so many different websites and communications and people and relationships, like even just on Telegram, like a private chat with somebody, and then there's a broadcast chat, and then there's the group chats. So what you can do, yeah, I know, is you can see, I'm all for the Hoover or the vacuum, where you can have it in your hand and you just put your hand on your phone and you say, okay, I'm pulling my energy out of, and then in your mind you can think of, well, out of Telegram and all those different chats, and you can just pull it out. Now, when I do that, as soon as I start to do that, feels disgusting to me. It's like it's dirty energy.
Kind of oily. It's kind of oily.
Out of there. Yeah. So depending on who you're talking to, and those crypto spam bots and all that kind of crap that you end up inevitably picking up. So maybe when you want to just keep your energy in your hand and then do a cleaning on it. And so people are like, how do you clean? Really, what you're doing is you're using your intention and your imagination, and you're giving permission. So you're not going to create any more drama for yourself. You say, okay, I refuse to take on this crappy energy. And you just sit with it and see it getting cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and brighter and brighter. And then you can just bring it back into yourself. But I think then that's just the Telegram. So you have to go back and do the Facebook and the Instagram and the TikTok and whatever else you're doing and all the websites. And
not on much of that.
I just find it's really helpful, actually, like WhatsApp, if you're having these really intense conversations with individuals, to pull yourself out of that as well, but then to also visualize the person and imagine maybe that you're hoovering yourself out of their head. But what happens when you start to do that is that you realize you've got their energy in you as well. because
Mhm.
it's a two-way connection. So you can then hoover them out of you, cleanse both, and send it back.
That's a great way to just deal with the attachments that come during the day. Like, not that
Why
they're
am I
not.
always thinking about this person all the time?
Yeah. Well, and if you
Clear.
are doing that, then that's, a real attachment. But just the little attachments throughout the day, like they attach and you're like, okay, no. And that's what I'm always doing is in the morning, I create like 6 bubbles. And I'm all bubbled up. Like there's layers of bubbles around me and each one has a purpose. So the first thing I do is get rid of the ego. And I kind of see that as like, I like to do it in the whole house. So I've like put this marshmallow of pure consciousness into the house. And I say, please take the ego out. And then we throw that off into the sun. And then I like to create these bubbles. So the bubbles are pink for self-love. And then I like to do green for self-protection. And then I do this light, like white bubble. So if any entity gets close, they're going to get like basically taken back to source. It's almost like those little fly zappers.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah.
And then I do another green one, and then I do a force field, and then I do this silver bubble so nobody can actually see me. They can't see my energy. And that works really well. The silver bubble just came a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And since I've been doing that, like hardly any interference ever happens anymore, which is just
That's interesting.
Yeah. And it's like a
Yeah,
mirror.
I have a story about someone who did the cloak of invisibility and then she got into her car and had a car crash because they didn't see her.
I don't do that. I don't do it in the car. Yeah, that's a good thing to bring up. I only do the green. So I do the green and I actually do the force field, I think, but I don't do the silver bubble because it's true. They won't see you. I do it in the grocery store though.
And then you can sneak in and get the orange you wanted before someone else takes it. Yeah.
Right. Or, maybe there's somebody in there you don't want to talk to that's wearing one of these or whatever, and you're like, nobody sees me in there.
Yes.
Except for the checkout person. That's it.
But do you find though that when you deliberately create all of those different forms that it requires your conscious thought to keep them perpetuated? No.
I do them in the morning and then I do them in the evening before bed, which keeps the astral plane away from me, pretty much the lower astral at night. So I have all these bizarre dreams. I'm always working, I've noticed. So I'm still working in my dreams and I wake up in the morning. Oh, I have to talk about this person, about frequency. And, I have all these there's some lady I've been dreaming about for 2 weeks. I have no idea who she is. And she's supposed to teach frequency. And all these little scenarios are playing out while I'm asleep.
It's interesting. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, we are. We're working in our dreams. There's a lot going on. I'm finding I'm not sleeping very much at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. I don't sleep that well. And when I'm up, and it takes a while to go to bed.
Yeah, but I found though, since I've had my children, that just resting, just lying there and doing nothing is actually okay. Whereas I never used to be able to do that before. I would just take the rest when I can, but they're much older now, but the body remembers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like that hammock, of just almost like being back in the womb, you just get to oh. Yeah. It's good.
Yes. I kind of go from the point of view, the framework of doing all your own inner work. So that when you have cleared different frequencies, let's say there's fear, but then there's different levels of fear and there's different flavors of that fear that can attach then to memory or objects or or specific things that you think you're afraid of, or that you actually are afraid of. And then when you clear all of those within you, when it gets thrown at you from the outside, it doesn't trigger you the same way.
Yeah. That's huge. I do that it's probably very similar, but I call it subconscious blocks. So, I go in and find the block and then find what the truth is about it. And then it just kind of like melts away. It no longer matters. But triggers are such a gift because it shows you where things are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely are. And it's your attitude towards them. Like if you catch yourself subconsciously projecting it out onto somebody, you can say, okay, which aspect of me needs my attention now, and which part of me is unhappy with this person? But I don't know. I mean, I've been sitting with a lot of grief and disappointment over the last couple of years, and just nursing your inner wounds around seeing people for who they truly are, as opposed to who you thought they were, along with the changes, along with the bombardment of energy, along with the growth that we're doing. It is a lot to navigate. So the thing I've been saying mostly to people is bring in that cushion of compassion towards yourself, and rest, and increase your tolerance for yourself, because when you have it in you, then you have it better for other people as well.
Yeah. We have to take care of ourselves first, because we can't really truly take care of anybody else unless we take care of ourselves.
And sometimes taking care of the other means letting them figure it out for themselves.
Well, yeah, because otherwise you're not helping their lessons.
Yeah. So I have a lot of people that would work with me who would be empathic, and for them to learn that they don't need to feel how everybody else is feeling, that you can actually walk into a room and be closed as opposed to open, that you don't need to read every situation, and that you don't have to carry anybody else's emotional pain. It's actually really freeing and exciting.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, who am I if I'm not this person who feels everything and carries all, it's an opportunity, I think, right now. It's so that's where the joy can come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're letting go of control. I think a lot of us come in and we have, like, maybe we've been in a higher density, and then we just assume that, okay, so I know how it should work, so I'm just going to take over for you, and then you won't have to
do it for you.
Yeah, do it for you. And you're taking away their opportunity to learn that lesson. So it's not really fair to do that. But a lot of us have come in with that. And I always call it control.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's definitely, it's a need to, it's also around feeling that you're wanted and you're needed in the world, because if they don't need you to do this for them, then what are you supposed to do? And that's a whole nother journey then to figure that one out.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of us, I think, have felt really out of place here. I was like, I know when I was little and, up until my 30s, probably, I was like, what is this place? Like, what is going on here? It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel normal. Like, it's a mess. And I think a lot of us have that feeling underlying. So then we're trying to correct it and fix it. But we're not here to do that. We're here to just be ourselves.
And let other people be themselves. Actually, it reminds me of one of the best examples was a client that I had, and she's there, I just want everybody to accept me exactly the way that I am. So I said, okay, well, do you accept you exactly the way that you are? Oh, well, I have this wrong with me and I have that wrong with me. And then there's this thing that really annoys me. So we went over all those. And then she starts talking about her mom and what a pain in the ass her mom is. And then her dad, and he's a pain in the ass. I said, okay, so you can't accept your mom the way she is. You can't accept your dad the way he is. And from what you've told me, you certainly aren't able to accept yourself the way you are, but yet you expect everybody else to accept you the way you are. You see, so there it goes into your inner work.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't turn the mirror the other way very often. And it is important to be so kind to yourself as you start to release all this stuff, all this baggage, because we can't really take it with us into this next phase. We have to learn to let it go.
And when you realize that the things that you criticize the most about yourself comes from that conditioning that we've all been given to keep ourselves down, to keep ourselves small, to not be powerful, that we care too much about things like our appearance, or, you know, people caring about us. You know, I would take my kids when they were little up to the top of the hill, and we look out across the whole of Dublin. So how many people do you think live in this city? I think there's like, I don't know, 2 million, something like that. And I said, so some of these people, they're just not going to like you, but there's plenty of other people out there that will like you. So, you know, maybe some people just aren't your people. Maybe some people are. You don't have to make everybody, you know, cut off pieces of yourself so that you are accepted by everybody. And I think that had a big reaction of, you know, I wish someone did that to me when I was little.
Yeah, that's a great lesson to teach your children. Like, and I think that children will have a much better chance in the future as they're raised, because there won't be this bombardment of lies all the time. But to tell them you matter, and the people that, you know, care, or the people that are attracted to you will show up. What a beautiful thing to give them, you know.
Yeah, but
basically.
to even not steer them into what let's say me personally, what I want, you know, I don't have anything that I need them to be for me.
Right.
And so when they can follow their joy and do what makes them happy, then, you know, that's wonderful to give them that freedom. Whereas let's say I was told, well, you know, you have to go to college and you have to study this and you have to do that. And, you know, so I wanted to be an architect, and I ended up studying science, you know.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot in science. I mean, I think I saw in one of your other interviews that people are realizing all of the things that we did in other parts of our lives are all kind of culminating now into the gifts that we have to hold us steady
Exactly.
while we're looking at what's going on and making sense of it. Like, I have a master's degree in science. I worked as a research biologist in evolutionary biology over in Australia. And I saw how experiments can be manipulated to get the results that you want. I saw how women had to work 3 times as hard to get respect in the field, and how, you know, no matter how much of your life's blood you give, if they don't like you, it's not good enough. You know, being in with the in crowd, all of that stuff. So when you see these scientific papers now, or you go, okay, but who's paying for that?
Right. Who's
You
paying
know?
for that?
Is that back engineered, that experiment? You know, and so it gives you that critical eye to see.
It really does. And we have to look at everything that way now. Like, what's the motive behind the message of everything that we're looking at?
And what do they not want us to see?
Yeah. What are they hiding from us? And this is going to be our superpower in the future. I think we're being taught the biggest lesson in sovereignty right now. Like, there's so much bombardment of the lies that have gone on forever, and also now the new lies, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to really, when to clear out your own voices, to feel into, well, is this true?
Yeah.
You know, I had a huge shock when I learned about controlled opposition. That was something that I had to get my head around in the last couple of years. And I'm like, not him as well. You know,
Right.
Go, okay, I don't believe any of them. And ultimately, it's so that you don't hang your hook or anchor into anybody. You know, it was the government, now it's this guy. You know, this guy could be just as much full of crap as anybody else. So you have to bring it back into yourself and go, okay, what really matters is how I live my life every day, you know, and the people that are around me, the intimacy of that, and the state of my home.
Yeah. The responsibility of our own being is ours.
Yeah.
It's not anybody else's. I think that has been kind of like drilled out of everyone. And so now to come from, okay, so I'm not a victim, I'm a sovereign being instead. that's where we're going.
I think so. It's funny you say that, because I've had a couple of publishing houses publish books for me, but now I'm publishing my own books. And one of the publishers I had wanted me to change the victim idea, because it's not nice to call people victims. And I said, yeah, but then how else do you describe it?
Yeah.
I said, no, just change that. And I said, okay. And I didn't change it, and it got published anyway. But for me to be able to teach and heal and express myself as me, I don't want to be hampered in or penned in. You just like you wouldn't. And so freedom that we get when like I'm just publishing myself, because then I can do what I want. And then if people are, for me, it's like standing back at the mountain and here's all the city and here's all the world, and people aren't going to like me, but there are going to be people who do.
Right.
So just trust that I'm doing what resonates, what comes through for me, and that people who need it will find it.
Yeah. Because we are the person, that we're supposed to be here. And that's the gift that we're giving to ourselves and to the world. So you don't want to be somebody else. You don't want somebody else to control your words or your feelings or any of it. So just being you is so important. And the more you strip away of all the programming, the more you are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's really interesting. Good.
Yeah. Fun.
It's interesting. Funny, the connection that we have. It's like we agree with each other and everything. We're not going to have an argument here.
No. And I really feel like polarity is kind of dead. It's starting to die. And pretty soon we're going to see it die. It's like, as we feel things, then they are created. And I feel like we're at the climax of the movie, but really for us, the climax already happened a long time ago. So we're going to see this like in backwards time, and we're going to be excited, but other people are going to be sad because they haven't gotten there yet. So
that's interesting. Yeah. Because what I'm experiencing here in Ireland at the moment is frequency matching, people coming together, and then it's as if there are deliberate divisions being created and people having fights and then choosing to walk away from that. And it's I suppose when you stir something up, there's going to be a stirring up, but then it'll start to settle and you'll see what level you're at, what, like layers on the stratification. And then you just don't want to go any lower than that, because it's just not pleasant to.
Right. Exactly.
So they can all do what they want down there, and I'll stick around here. And
right. And I'll stay up here in my happy zone. Remember that thing they used to say about couples? I don't know who said it. Maybe it was Freud or something. And he was like, you're not looking for like the perfect partner. You're looking for the psychosis that can deal with your own psychosis.
He made up a lot of his work.
I'm sure he did. Yeah.
Most of his case studies were fiction. So they were lying right from the beginning with everything, really.
I totally believe it. But it just kind of, to me, it like illustrates like when you're bumping up against somebody else's like false beliefs or their ego or whatever, and you're just like, okay, bye. It's okay. But I don't think we have to try and mold ourselves to somebody else's stuff anymore, like their fears or the things that they're thinking that came from a belief that you don't believe in. So
what makes this makes me think of when we're talking is the developmental stages of the human being. So when you're little, your mom and dad do everything and they're the gods and they can do no harm, and you're safe in the house as long as somebody's there. And then obviously there are going to be families who have arguments and difficulties, but yet you still have given over your power to them.
Yeah.
And then as a teenager, you want to belong and you will cut off pieces of yourself to fit in. And, you can split into many different personae to be somebody for someone else so that you fit into different groups. And then you come to a point in time, well, also the filter of people that do this, when they come to a point in time when they say, okay, I've had enough of this and now I'm going to be me. And they usually say like life begins at 40, where you just stop giving a shit about what people think.
Yeah.
But if you look at society as a whole, you can see that society is being treated like children. And then society's grown up and they're still being treated like children by the government. And so we're saying, well, we're the rebellious teenagers and we're going to do what we want. But then there's the fraction of us who say, well, do you know what? We're not going to fix the system from within. We're going to just have to leave and do what we want to do ourselves. And that's like the adult leaving home and creating their own life.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
That's so true. What a great like analogy of that. Yeah. And we're about to create something completely new.
We are. And I think as adults, we're talking as adults to each other.
Yeah.
And we can agree to disagree and we can agree to work together on certain things. And I think that it's cooperation and ingenuity when we're not restricted by other people's ideas. Like mom and dad come in and say, no, you have to do it this way and you can't leave until you tidy up your room. And it's like, I don't live here anymore.
Right.
Your rules in your house, but guess what, guys? I have my own house now.
Yeah.
So I'll see you later.
Exactly.
That's kind of where we are.
Yeah. And that's the ultimate like of non-attachment. Just letting other people do what they want to do and doing what you need to do for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not needing to brag about it or prove yourself to anyone or.
Right. You don't need any kind of kudos for it. Definitely. See that at all. That's a great analogy though. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And it's interesting how it's deserved because, you know, I would get clients in their 60s and 70s whose parents are still alive. Let's say they're living with their mom who's in her 90s and they still regress back to childhood patterns. And the mom is still the mom, you know, instead of, okay, I'm an adult too, and I have a say. And so when you look at the masses and how they're responding to, you know, I think we're at the rebellious teenager stage again, because, you know, if they're going to bring masks back in Ireland, they're going to have some trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that'll come back anywhere.
I don't know if you've been watching what's been going on here, but recently our bank, one of the main banks, said that they're going to get rid of all the cash machines and they're not going to deal with cash anymore. And that lasted for 2 days in the country because there was such a backlash from people that they had to withdraw that and take it back. And I thought, well, there is hope. And it's like certain people react to certain things, which it was kind of nice to see.
Yeah. So. And I think that's why all those different kinds of triggers are being, you know, initiated. And survival is the biggest trigger. You know? Yeah. Because thinking that somebody's going to take away your own survival, like it's massive. And that's
threaten your children.
Say no.
I know. And then when you're told you can't speak out, you can't go against the grain, you can't step up, that was really hard. And I know for me, intuitively, I knew there was something wrong. And I was looking around and everybody was in that flow of following everybody else. And it was difficult, but now there's enough of us out there to say, okay, we can leave home and set up our own rules ourselves the way you do when you're grown up, you know, and they can do what they want. So.
And the decision is all it really takes. Like I was really surprised, like when I chose to leave, because I was a corporate manager before all of this. And I was like, okay, not going to do that. Not going to wear this, you know. And when I left, it's like the decision that you make, everything else will just happen once you make the decision.
Yeah.
So it really is up to us to create our own destiny.
Well, it's always been the co-creation, but you have to show up and make the first moves, you know. Yeah. For me as well, I did all my training to be a therapist. I was still working in corporate at the time. And my contract ran out at the same time as me getting all my qualifications as a therapist. So it's like, well, the universe is there. Okay, it's your move now. Are you going to do this or what? You know, setting up in private practice with I think I had 4 children at that point, and my husband was a stay-at-home dad, was a big risk.
Oh,
But I
wow.
had to put the trust and faith in the universe that I would be carried, and I was. And I discovered, as anybody who works as a therapist does, that there's a limited number of sessions you can offer in a week. So in order to make more money, you need to do group work, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so I brought in all of those other skills and realized, and I've been in training for this the whole time. So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I
do
think
that.
those manager skills have like really benefited me. And also, like, I was shy. You know, when I was a teenager, I was a shy person. Not anymore. Oh, you know, life, even though you feel like you may have wasted a lot of time, there's all these things that you learned that are actually going to help you with whatever your mission is in life, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll just keep getting new missions.
Definitely. And for people who might be listening who don't know what their mission is just yet, I always say it's because your frequency still needs to change. So you're not going to see what it is until you've let go of what is keeping you at a lower vibration.
Yep.
So, you know, I've had many clients who are devastated. It's like, I need to, what am I doing? What am I doing? I said, well, what you're doing is you're letting go of grief. You are disconnecting from family patterns. You're letting go of your ancestral programming. That's what you're doing. And if you could free yourself up for 6 months without worrying about what your mission is on the world and what I have to do, and just focus completely on, okay, what will you have me do today? What am I to work on in me to do that self-healing and self-compassion? It actually accelerates the process. And,
Oh, yeah. So much.
yeah, it's amazing. It really is.
It is amazing. I love to see somebody start to get loose of those blocks of that, you know, like it's like a backpack. And sometimes it's like a backpack with lead in it. It's
Oh
just,
yeah, and carrying rocks, or I would say like shopping bags that aren't even
yeah,
your shopping.
yeah, just to let that go. And you just like bob up, just like you're a little cork, you know, and somebody's like holding you down in the bathtub. And then all of a sudden it's like, boink, and you're at the top. And you know, it's so freeing because then you can move around, you know, your life becomes in flow.
As long as you're giving yourself permission to be happy, I find that that's huge conditioning around not allowing yourself to be happy, particularly if there are other people around you that aren't happy.
Yeah.
And so when you think of it again in terms of frequency, what you're rippling out to the world affects the rest of the world. So if you're not going to be joyful or happy, or give yourself even those pockets of time where you just sit in stillness, then it's never going to happen for anybody else as well. Even just thinking about someone with kids, I was like, please, can you help me fix my kid? You know, it's like, no, when you ripple out that calmness, then the child lifts up to you. When you're emanating the frequency of this, you know, you're perfect just the way you are, to your child. Whereas if you're saying to your, you know, to your baby, oh, there's something wrong, then the baby just wants to make you happy, and it creates something wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas if they know everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be good, then it kind of lifts everybody. So
It does.
people have to create that for other people to be able to raise to that. And then the more people that are doing that, yeah, definitely.
It's huge. I don't remember what the number was, but I know when you reach like love, you're affecting a certain number of people. And then joy, it's like more people. I want to say it's like 100,000. Like it's a huge amount of people that you're affecting as you raise your own frequency. So really, like your biggest mission is to raise your own frequency, to let go
I
of
think
stuff.
that's actually what's been happening.
Yeah.
And that there's threshold levels have been met. And then to me, it's like another strata, like a blanket has been lifted off, and everyone is like, oh, what's going on? It's like they're all waking up. And then as they raise, the next one comes off. And as they raise, the next one comes off. And
Yeah.
it's accelerated then exponentially as more and more of us are bringing more of these frequencies in.
I think so too.
You know what else is interesting as well is what I've noticed, because I like to work with crystals, and how new crystals just kind of show up when you need them.
Yeah.
I think it's the same kind of thing.
It is. Yeah. I'm obsessed with this new one called Lepidolite lately.
Oh, I'm actually wearing that today on my
You are?
bracelet.
Me too.
Wow, that's hilarious. Yeah, I was like, oh, I must wear that today.
It's so calming. Like it's the most calming thing. And I think it was Shanti. I'm pretty sure she's like, oh, well, there's lithium in it. And I'm like, oh, no wonder.
Yeah,
Now.
This is actually one of my favorites at the moment too, is
Ooh, pretty.
Septarian or Dragonstone.
Nice.
And actually anyone who's watching this might be interested, because this is aragonite and this is calcite, but together it's called Septarian. But when you hold it, if there's a lot of the brown, it pulls out anxiety from your body. So, you as much work as you're doing, you're agitating, there's stuff that needs to be released. And so get crystals to help. And if you feel agitated, just hold something that helps calm you. And because it's here, that's why they show up, because they want to help.
Yeah, they do. And they hold memory just like we hold memory. And we're going to talk about water holding memory. There's all these things that are holding memory that can help you like change what's going on with you. I find like as you let go of a block, it's really good to also do something for your body to also release it from the cellular memory at the same time. And I do that zone technique. And I had one lady, she cried like the whole next day. And she's like, what's happening? And I'm like, well, you must have had a lot of stuff you need to let go of. And she's like, oh yeah, I have been stuffing my feelings. So it really is important to do both, like to help your emotional body and your physical body at the same time. And just
Well, that's interesting you say that, because when I wrote my novel about exactly this, that you can't have psychotherapy separate to energy work, because you do your thinking around what's going on, you have your brain on board, but then if you don't release the energy, whether it's emotional, anything like that, then you're not going to move forward. So the psychotherapy that I do now is around, you've done that work now. So don't go back into those patterns. This is the pattern that you had. What new pattern would you like to create instead, so that you can then anchor into a new pattern? Let the body continue to release the old stuff without diving back into it and back into the old patterns and back into recreating what was there in the first place. Because there's always layers and levels of it. And if you want to wallow in the mud of your pain and be that wounded person, there's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
But we don't want to do that anymore. Maybe that's why I don't resonate with TV shows and movies so much now, because they're encouraging you to go back into that wounding too, which is really interesting.
They are. Well, I think that's how they program you to perpetuate like drama and pain and stuff. There's this one exercise that I don't remember where I saw it, but basically you write down the problem and then you burn the paper and you never look at it again. And I was like, oh, so you're just like totally releasing it, in that moment. And it's kind of a ritual thing. And I was also thinking, well, don't burn your house down while you're doing stuff. But I was like, that is a good way to let it go, because you're basically telling the universe, okay, I'm done with that. It's burnt up.
That's
I'm
interesting.
not going to look at it again. Yeah.
Yeah. Or then if you do have a faith in the transcendent, in God, to say, okay, well, I'm going to hand the trouble to you. I know that this is a thing, and I'm going to give you the worry, so I'm not going to worry about it. And then if it comes up again, if I'm empty of worry, then maybe I'll be able to know how to respond in the moment better.
Exactly. Give it up to God.
Well.
Yeah.
And that even goes back to the exercise that I said at the beginning, when you're pulling your energy out of something, it frees up the thing to move on to the next stage of itself.
Yeah.
Including a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's
any relationship or attachment, like even to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, what you can do once you've successfully pulled yourself out of your phone is you could say, okay, I'm going to go back in. So please just show me what I need to see, so that I don't get stuck there.
Yeah.
And you go in and you could see it straight away, and then you come out and go, great, and then go and do something else.
Exactly. It's beautiful. I
So
love
yeah, so your intention and permission being in alignment is it's like you're mindfully living as opposed to being on autopilot all the time, and it really can change everything for you.
that. Just the awareness of yourself in this, you can call it whatever you want, this experience, this game, just the awareness of you and how you're behaving. It's kind of like being the observer of yourself, of your own life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't it makes me think of what you had said earlier about protection, that we want to talk a little bit about protection, because you need to be fully in alignment with not wanting to be attacked, not wanting that, because sometimes there are parts of us that enjoy the drama, that want to hold you back, that want to sabotage. And if you haven't sat with them, then you're going to, why is it always happening to me? You're going to wonder why you haven't shifted it yet. And so you need to sit with all the parts of yourself.
Yeah.
And say, we really don't need to do this anymore.
Yeah. Just taking the time to understand what's going on within you. So big. And I have a meditation where I talk about all the bubbles, and I'll put that underneath. I'm going to put Abby's channel underneath. And
I have quite a few meditations as well on SoundCloud. There's one that I do with music or without music, which is great depending on, because I find sometimes I just don't resonate with certain music, and it's about getting into your body more so that you can be with everything that you're feeling and just sit with it and allow it to, to speak to you if it needs to, or to be released, because sometimes you're holding on to something until you've witnessed it. It needs you to see it, and then it can go.
Exactly.
And it's like what you were saying about the backpack, actually putting it down and acknowledging you've been carrying it and that it's been difficult, but you don't need to do it anymore. And some piece of you says, but I've been doing this for years. And why? Because if I put it down now, does that mean what I've been doing is like just been a waste of time? And you go, no, that's all we knew at the time. But now it's time for something new. It really is time for something new. It's exciting.
It is really exciting. Yeah. So any links that you have, we'll put them under the video.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. I feel like, we're all going to come back to our own being, and you have to honor your being right now. So just be yourself. Even if you think that, that might appear to be weird to other people, just do it.
Yeah.
Let that crazy flag fly. If I can talk about the shape of the earth and all the weird stuff that I come up with that comes from my higher self, that nobody is like, what are you talking about? Just feel free to be yourself. Who cares?
But what you're doing is it's like homeopathy. Yeah, it's like you're putting an antidote or an elixir or some kind of remedy into the consciousness.
Yeah.
And that shifts something for a whole group of people, which then ripples out again and ripples out again, ripples out again. I mean, when I was small, I watched Men in Black when it came out, the very first one. And, that whole thing of the galaxies in Orion's belt. And it was a little marble on the collar of the cat, and I'm going, oh, that makes sense to me. And then at the very end, when they zoom out, and then they zoom out of Earth, and they zoom out and they zoom out, and we're actually a marble in a game on another planet where I'm going, that's really possible, So I've always had that open-mindedness to say, well, we're never going to know the truth of anything. And then over the years with the healing work that I've done, and I see how complex we are and yet how simple we are, to make an assumption that we know everything is just crazy. And the more you learn, the more you realize we don't know anything.
Yeah.
And that really lets you let go of your expectation. And it does make life a lot more exciting.
It does. Yeah. And joy is the goal. Like the goal is love, and then it's joy, and then it's, whatever comes next after that. Just keep raising the bar of how happy you are.
Yeah. But also to know, And what I'm going through at the moment is that my body's struggling with this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's always going to be parts of us that are ahead of other parts of us.
Mm-hmm.
So to just be patient, it takes as long as it's going to take for the body to catch up. Whereas for the children, say their body's at a higher frequency anyway, they hit the ground running, they're different. So it's a bit of a bumpy ride for some of us, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we will get there. We'll totally get there. Not too much longer now. Yeah.
But then having said that, I'm not waiting. I'm enjoying every minute now. It's funny, like I would be walking today. I went for a walk to get a coffee and I saw the most beautiful flower. And I thought, I need to put this on Twitter. Now I didn't know why. So I took a picture and then it got all this likes. And what I said when I put the picture up was, if you want more beauty in your life, this is something I say regularly. If you want more beauty in your life, you must deliberately fill your life with beauty.
Yeah.
And that hits somebody out there in a really profound way. You go around looking for it. If you don't start to co-create, if you don't bring it in, so to bring in more of what you want and don't be apologetic for it. It's really important.
Just put your attention on it and it'll start to grow. Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Abby. This was wonderful. I had so much fun.
Great fun.
Yeah. And we'll have more talks in the future, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Sure we will. It was really good to talk with you.
Yes, you too. Bye, everybody.